The anointed ones, welcome. Until the world was ready for what you were always meant to accomplish, you were never ignored, just kept out of sight. They have seen you for years as just another face in the throng, a common person who is forgettable and unremarkable. The worst part is that they were completely mistaken, since you were the one all along. The world picked you out subtly and purposefully, as if to keep the plot twist a secret until the very last second, without sending out blazing lights or a spectacular drum roll. An interesting truth is that the typical person passes 36 killers in their lifetime without recognizing it. Fortunately, I hope you are not one of them, but you have been ignoring your own brilliance for years. How ironic is that? It is the tale of the underappreciated, the forgotten, and the unsung heroes who come to the fore when no one else is looking. It doesn't matter who others believed you to be. What matters is who you were at all times, even while they were blind to it. The world won't know what hit them when you eventually take on your job, I promise. So hold on tight. This is your Genesis narrative, not just any underdog tale. First on the list is ignorance, the chosen one's greatest gift. Their incapacity to anticipate you was your greatest weapon until. They wrote you off as normal, ignored you, and disregarded you. That was your biggest advantage, not a weakness in their judgment. What people don't grasp is underestimated. They quickly pick up on overconfidence, loud strength, and dazzling brilliance. Yet you flourish there, because of your quiet excellence that goes unnoticed. You were quietly honing your craft while others were occupied with pursuing apparent potential. Since genuine strength doesn't have to declare itself, you weren't loud because you didn't have to. They didn't even understand they needed to learn things. But you worked silently and unobserved. Every failure, rejection, every instance in which they wrote you off as unimportant turned into a chance to develop independently of them. They didn't realize they were allowing you to grow into an unstoppable force. This is real life, where people are oblivious to greatness when it doesn't meet their expectations. It's not a Hollywood tale where the chosen one is immediately acknowledged and applauded. You played the role, blended in, and gave them the impression that they had you figured out while you were developing into a force that they could never foresee, prepare for, or compete with. It will be too late by the time they discover who you are. You were passed over because they lacked vision, not because you were unworthy. They made a mistake, and now your underappreciated, quiet ascent is going to create more of a stir than they ever could have imagined. Being invisible until you decide it's time to be seen has a perilous beauty. You were never just a regular person. You were always waiting for your chance to shine. The second is that they rejected themselves, not you. It was about them, not you, when they threw you out. Individuals see the world through the prism of their personal constraints. They will ignore everything that doesn't match their limited perspective if they have persuaded themselves that excellence looks a specific way. They rejected you because they were unable to see your potential, not because you lacked it. Consider Sarah. She wasn't the loudest person in the classroom, or the star student that the professors loved at school. Quiet and perceptive, she was the kind of person that others forget existed. Her peers chuckled when she said she hoped to launch her own company someday. They told her that she was too unassuming to be successful, as if being flamboyant or captivating was a prerequisite for success. Sarah absorbed their skepticism for years. However, she was unaware at the time that their laughing was about their own terror, rather than her. Since they couldn't see themselves doing it, they also couldn't see her doing it. 10 years later, Sarah's simplicity proved to be her greatest asset. She was stealthily constructing her empire, brick by brick, while her friends were pursuing fads and quick cuts. She only had to believe in herself. She never had to persuade others. When they finally saw her triumph, it was too late. Their giggling had long since subsided in favor of jealousy. In actuality, rejection is often a reflection of someone else's fears or incapacity to look above their own boundaries, rather than a judgment on your value. Their perspective was the issue, not you. The best part is that you don't need their approval. You only needed more time to convince yourself that you were always sufficient. Number 3. The cosmos silently murmured. The cosmos doesn't have to make a big show of announcing greatness. There wasn't a loud declaration or a lightning bolt when you were selected, because the truth about who you are wasn't intended for everyone to know. The allure of it is that it was always for you and never for them. The beckoning was soft and faint, like a whisper that only you could hear. You could have wondered for years why you didn't fit the pattern, why your path seemed different, or why others appeared to rise while you remained buried. The cosmos, however, operates in this manner. It makes its intentions known in quiet, understanding that those who are destined to ascend don't need cheers to begin. The cosmos was letting you know that you were already selected during those silent times, when you felt the need to keep moving forward, even when no one else was there. Your calling's subtlety was deliberate, not an accident. You may have been distracted, sidetracked, or even questioned yourself if it had been loud and the world had seen it too fast. The silence served as a safeguard, allowing you to develop and be ready, free from the pressures of other people's thoughts or expectations. Greatness is expected to be loud, visible, and unmissable, yet actual strength develops in quiet, where it is fostered free from outside distractions. When the time comes, it will be so obvious that no one can ignore it, but you will have been prepared by then. The message was for you, not for them, so the world said. And you already know why you're here if you've heard it, even if only faintly. Fourth, you benefited from your delay. You were exactly on time, not late. You could have felt like you were lagging behind since everyone else seemed to have it figured out, while you were still having trouble getting started. They failed to realize, however, that the selected individual does not adhere to the same schedule as the others. You required accuracy, not speed, on your trip. Perfect preparedness was what seemed to be a delay. Every obstacle you encountered served as training, not a sign of failure. You were being shaped into a person who could manage the future by those times that seemed like obstacles. Because they are ill-equipped to handle the responsibility that comes with achievement, those who climb too rapidly often fall apart. However, you've survived the fire. You've made mistakes, gained knowledge, and developed. Every obstacle served to hone your intuition, fortify your resilience, and impart valuable lessons that cannot be hastily learned. Consider this. Would you have been prepared if you had achieved your objective sooner? Would you have had the abilities, fortitude, and knowledge necessary to not only attain but maintain greatness? Most likely not. Time is of the essence. You were being shaped, not just sitting around doing nothing. The universe understood that you needed a foundation that would hold up over time and not crumble under stress. Your path is not a race, and your value is not determined by how fast you get there. You were learning what others skimmed over while others hurried forward. You're overqualified now, not merely prepared to take on your post. The wait was a pre-bonus. Number 5. Authenticity, not perfection, is what gives you power. Pursuing perfection is a trap, and it is a fiction. The chosen one stands out because they have accepted every imperfection, scar, and error as a part of who they are, not because they have never failed or made mistakes. Since it's what makes you relevant, human, and most importantly, genuine, authenticity is your greatest strength. Your imperfections are evidence that you have lived, suffered, and persevered. They are not something to conceal. The tests that sharpened your edges and exposed your strengths were those times when you failed. People connect with honesty up close, but they often admire perfection from a distance. You allow others to do the same when you take ownership of your narrative, including the nasty bits. Consider this. The individuals that inspire you the most are not flawless. They are strong, have experienced hardships, and don't act that way. Authenticity seems attainable, but perfection feels unachievable. It is the source of your strength. By presenting yourself as who you are, scars and all, you're saying, "This is me. Take it or leave it." Your flaws don't make you less of a person. Rather, they make you more of one. They help you become trustworthy, grounded, and relatable. Authenticity is uncommon, yet perfection may be faked by anybody. It is unadulterated, unrefined, and unreplicable. You may unleash the full potential of who you are when you give up striving to be perfect. You don't need to be flawless, and you weren't intended to be. The real you is what the world needs, not a perfect imitation of you. Being proud of your path and understanding that every scar tells a story and every setback was a learning experience is what makes you strong. Authenticity is unbeatable. Perfection is overrated. Sixth, you weren't neglected. You were concealed for safety. You were safeguarded. You weren't forgotten. It may have seemed for a while that the universe had forgotten about you. You stayed buried, unrecognized, and undervalued as you watched others climb, succeed, and shine. But it was preparedness, not carelessness. The cosmos was protecting you from being revealed before you were ready, not punishing you by keeping you hidden. Consider a diamond, which is not available for everyone to take. Because it takes time to develop something so precious, it is buried underground, hidden by layers of soil. It's simply another rock if it's brought to the surface too soon. However, with pressure and refinement, it becomes something unique and exceptional when the moment is perfect. For the same reason, you were concealed. You would have been exposed to the world's criticism, skepticism, and diversions if you had risen too early, before you had had time to mature. The cosmos was aware of your potential and shielded you from harm by keeping you hidden while you gained the courage and insight to face what was ahead. When you're waiting for your turn, it's easy to mistake protection for neglect. However, you were unaware that the most crucial times were during the slow seasons, when nothing appeared to be occurring. You were acquiring clarity, strengthening your roots, and becoming more resilient. The world just wasn't prepared for you yet, but it didn't forget about you, and you will be unstoppable when you ascend. You weren't forgotten. You were protected, concealed in plain sight while the universe prepared the stage, and you for your entrance. The chosen one isn't intended to shine. They're meant to endure. So waiting wasn't a waste. It was what made sure you'd survive. Seventh, the loneliness was a teaching tool rather than a punishment. Being alone might make you feel punished, as if you've been forgotten or discarded. In actuality, however, it was always intended to mold you rather than shatter you. In reality, some of the most significant moments of your trip were the times when you felt alone, and as if no one could relate to or support you. That loneliness was preparation, not rejection. You developed self-reliance in the quiet of solitude. You were without the safety net of other people instructing you what to do, or the distractions of continuous noise. You were compelled to pay attention to your inner voice, your ideas, and your instincts instead. And even while it may have been intolerable at times, it gave you a power and clarity that very few people ever attain. Being alone taught you how to stand on your own 2 feet and find your own way without the approval of others. Just what really important remained when the superficial was removed. You discovered your true self, your potential, and your desires during those times. Such self-awareness is created in isolation and does not arise from ease. Being alone is unpleasant, therefore people tend to avoid it, but the chosen one is denied that luxury. Isolation wasn't a punishment, it was a tool. It improved your mental acuity, fortified your soul, and equipped you for the times when you would have to face the world with dignity. In actuality, Your narrative didn't stop with loneliness. Rather, it marked the start of your metamorphosis. You were being fashioned in stillness, while others clung to sounds and diversions. Now that you've already overcome the most difficult aspect, being by yourself, you're not just strong, you're unbreakable. The eighth point is that while they attempted to change your screenplay, your part was set in stone. People have attempted to define you throughout your life. They assigned you tasks that suited their objectives, not yours, and that were simpler for them to comprehend. They outlined your potential, ideal self, and unattainable self. They attempted to confine you, assign you a name, and alter your narrative to fit their preconceived notions. The fact is that the chosen one doesn't follow anyone's predetermined path. Long before anybody had an opinion about your life, your role was scripted. It's who you are, not a job you sought for or bargained. People attempted to divert you because they were afraid of your potential, not because they knew better. They could feel more at ease with their own limits if they could make you smaller to meet their ideal of you. For a time, you could have complied with their requests, believing that they might be correct. However, you knew deep down that no matter how hard you tried to fit in or follow their script, your inner calling would always be heard. You keep being drawn back to your true self by it. No one else can play your part, which is the beauty of your narrative. No matter how many others attempt to change, rewrote, or question you, the chosen one's path cannot be altered. Your objective is not optional, and neither is your position replaceable. Their efforts to steer your story weren't unsuccessful. Rather, they demonstrated how valuable you are. They wouldn't have made such an effort to restrict you if they didn't feel your strength. However, you were never intended to be constrained. You were created to defy expectations, to live authentically as the person you were always destined to be, and to break the mold. The ninth was that your superpower was your regular mask. The most potent aspect of you was your seeming inconspicuousness. You didn't seem particularly noteworthy or ostentatious. You looked like everyone else. People ignored you because they were unable to perceive what was really there, which was your superpower, my friend, not because you lacked anything. The selected one's genius lies in the fact that they often don a simple disguise. Being underappreciated is more important than being the loudest or most eye-catching. Consider this: a lion does not have to roar to be recognized when it moves. It waits for the ideal opportunity while silently prowling and planning its next move. That's how you've always been: quiet, unseen, but never really asleep. Your strength came from the silence, the silent planning, and the knowledge that being undervalued may allow you to develop unhindered. It wasn't from great gestures or outward demonstrations. The brightest lights, the loudest voices, and the most evident abilities attract people. Like they did with you, they disregard things they can't see because they don't always know how to deal with them. However, you were never weak in this area. In actuality, it worked to your favor. You were quietly developing your abilities, strengthening your purpose, and building up your power for the day when you would finally unveil what you've been keeping all along, while others were pursuing short-lived attention. Your genuine power was risky because of your average disguise. Because they were unable to perceive the depth under the surface, no one realized you were a formidable force. They'll discover they've been ignoring a lion in disguise all along when you finally step into your magnificence. 10th, the selected one is about what you can do for other people, not about you. Being selected is about what you can do for other people, not about savoring your success or accumulating honors. You were selected because you have a duty to complete, not because you were called to raise yourself. The universe gave you this job because there is a greater purpose at work, one that calls for you to have an influence that extends much beyond your own life, not to stroke your ego. Consider this: if you are selected, you have a task to do and a legacy to create. The lives you're supposed to affect and the legacy you're supposed to leave behind are what give you power, not the title. It's about empowering people, helping them, and building something that will last beyond your lifetime. The title loses all relevance if all you do is wear the label of selected without completing the objective. You have been selected to be a conduit for something much bigger than yourself, to serve and contribute. The world needs someone who realizes that genuine joy comes from serving others and leaving a legacy based on empathy, influence, and guidance, not another someone preoccupied with their own grandeur. Although it carries a lot of responsibility, it is also an honor. Remember the real reason for this position when you take it on. Your power should be shared, not kept to yourself. You were picked to lead by example, to empower others, and to leave the world in a better state than when you found it. You weren't picked to be a shining example of success for your own sake. Your goal is about what you can accomplish for other people, not about yourself.